Alrighty, welcome to week 16 in SQL. 16, 17, done. Wow. Okay, there is 18, but still, right? And for our course, 16 and 17 is all the content you have. So for this week, we're going to finish up the writing, and next week will be the last problem set. Okay, so just to take a peek at the calendar, right? So you can see where I'm recording this, which is the week before we move into 16. And this is a holiday, right? So in this case, the review for 16 will be, as I've been doing, is allowing it to go through till Monday. So really that's no different. So I'm not going to change the schedule. But what that does for the writing part, so for those of you taking a break, and it was interesting to see the feedback of the students who thought that was a great thing, and then there was other students that were like, I shouldn't have done it. I should have just got it done. You know, getting the whole thing done allows you to get more detailed feedback, which I've heard from the writing that you've done so far. You very much appreciate. So that's great. I'm glad to hear that. Because it is true that that's, you do work, you get feedback on it, you get better. That is the cycle. It's the cycle I work on. So in this case, what I want to do is just take that brief look, right, and know that we are heading towards the end. I talked about already the end of semester stuff, but if you have any questions about that, now's a fine time to ask. But the thing I would say to you on the technical interview, I've had many at this point, and it affirms for me the importance of the technical interview is to see how well you can take, in this case, I'll just tell you a fairly small data set, but write a regular query, a join relating query, right, and do some basic setup. So those are the skills we want you to walk out of this class with. And a technical interview is really the only way in the world today I know how to assess that. And it's just a thing. So if you're not on the technical review schedule after this week, and really it was last week, but after this week, there's only one opportunity. Now, I don't say that to scare you. I say that to get you to get on the list, because as we move to the end of the semester, it just becomes more challenging for all of us, right? The sooner you have it off your list, many of you felt relieved it was like done and you can move on. So go back and roll back to week 9 and look at that, submit a date. I'll do my best to accommodate schedules. So having said that, right, you last week, I think it was last week, yeah, gave me feedback on the course. We talked about, is coding still, a viable skill? Most of you said it was. I agree with that. I do think it's evolving quickly. And so it's a very interesting time to watch the world. And yeah, it can be depressing at times, but it's also just changes. Like life changes all the time. Now, having said that, in the context of what I'm about to ask you, is about these weekly reviews. These weekly reviews, as you have heard me talk about, but I'll just bring this back around, are actually the interface that you're using was built by Rick Gomez, who, if you're taking HTML and CSS, he's teaching that. And Brianna Rayburn, who's our tutor, she has helped refine this process for us. So these reviews, this is what I want to talk about. This is our course discussion this week, right? So given them, and they have evolved over the semester, we have refined and refined and refined our prompt that we use for this. We take the content covered in CS50, or we take a schema for what you're working on. We then send it through a series of prompts. It generates this interaction guide that we give it. And many times it works great, sometimes it doesn't. And this is the challenge with an LLM. But my question for you really is, right, what worked well? And if there's nothing that worked well, that's okay too. But I'm guessing you can come up with something that you've, like, did it help you feel more confident in the concepts and the skills that you were learning to get another chance at it? To use them to their utmost, as I've suggested, my thing would be take it, don't look at anything, right? Don't really just see how well you have it. And because you can take it multiple times, and it is really an advantage to see how well you've translated those. And many of you do take them even before I review them and give you a suggestion of a retake. If I do, or I tell you, no, you did great. And that process, I mean, I could talk all day and night about the process that I use to take your interactions through a whole series of prompts to give some output, because I tell it how I wanted to evaluate, and then I read it. I read the evaluation and I review it. So I don't just give you that, I actually review that review. Rick was saying this the other day, we review the review. So in this case, use a heading to, and I'll show you what that is in a minute. I think we actually have done this in this class, right? And then what needs to be improved? Like what, you've now been through this. What do we need to improve about this, right? I mean, there's a lot of things we've thought of that we want to do with this, and to see, because these kind of apps are coming into the marketplace. I mean, Canvas has been working with OpenAI to actually have some of these tools like what we've created available at a larger scale. We've been trying to scale it up, but it's just, you don't want to know about that. Challenges, let's just say. So in this case, write a substantive post, right? What worked well, right? Give me a little, if you're going to make me say 150 words, I'll say 150 words. And then what needs improving, right? And then reply with a substantive post here, right? Because, and this is really the point I'm trying to make, I suppose, that your feedback is very, very important. You are the customer. And in this case, your feedbacks, it makes the product better. And we definitely listen to it. I mean, Brianna and Rick and I will take that feedback and say, okay, what do we want to target for the next round? We actually have a new version that unfortunately didn't get to be rolled or deployed because of some challenges that we encountered, because we are a very small development team. Again, more information that you needed. So this week, rolling it back. Okay, so this is what you do for your graded part. Now this is Thanksgiving, right? So this week is Thanksgiving. I talked about that with the schedule, right? So your post is still due, right? By the time I look Tuesday, you at least do part 1, right? And I will actually be traveling over Thanksgiving. So not really available until we return. So just know that that's the case. So we're doing writing, right? So in this case, the last part of the writings, and I said this, I think last week, when it was talking about the triggers. Oh no, actually I said this. I need to say this now. The triggers is especially important because the last data set, which is it's called Don't Panic, which is to actually do a little what we call penetration testing, and my goal is actually to have that released before I head out next week. Actually, I will have it released. But in that case, I'm giving you the special heads up. Really understand how to not write, but understand triggers. Like when this happens, this is a series of steps you take, right? This is the updates you do. So in that case, when we get to Don't Panic, there'll be a user file, and when there's changes done to the user file, there's a log file that gets updated. And what you have to do is do a little penetration testing, which really means from a cybersecurity standpoint, see how well systems allow you to break into them. So these are fun things to understand. Obviously, in the world, not fun things to deal with. But in this case, those triggers, way important. And like before, I gave you a schema for when Carter talks about, he will show the idea of delete cascades, right? And so that's what this particular schema was. And again, just put it in the schema file and rerun it. Okay, so let's see what else. Nothing besides that. Like I said, it's holiday schedule. We're on a holiday schedule next week For us, it's not a big change because I already give more time on the reviews, but I will publish everything, my goal, by the time you head out to Thanksgiving. So for those of you that want to get finished, like you've already done the technical interview, all you have to do is finish through week 17, and whatever your Canvas grade is, once you finish everything, and I'll probably talk about this in week 17, but once you finish everything, that is your course grade. All right, thanks so much. Have a happy, wonderful break. I hope you get to spend some great quality time with the people that you love. I know I am.